the Mindfulness Collective. This right here, right now, it's the joy of being a live stream, coming to you live from Brooklyn, New York. If you're joining us anywhere else, you're in the wrong goddamn place. Folks, very happy you're here. Very happy to be here with you. We've got the funny people on the roof making funny roof sounds. And things are good. Things are good. Let's see here. I think the camera's a little slanty-banty. There we go. Cha-ching. Folks, as always, very excited to have you here. We're going to be doing some fun stuff today. We're going to be exploring some multiple self model material, and that is a delight from my perspective. What else? Beep up is so where are folks coming from? Where do we find you in this lovely moment here that we have found ourselves in? Where are you? Where on earth are you? BK in the house, yo. That's not the way you spell that, but that's fine. So folks, where are you joining us from? Where do you find yourself? I'm here in Brooklyn, New York, having a good time. P.S. I'm excited. I'm going to wait for a few more people to get on here, but there was a fire in the building. Yes, last stream, that's why we didn't have a stream. Everything seems to be fine for now. We'll see how that unfolds, how that unpacks itself, but we are happy to be here. We're happy that nothing really went wrong. Last time, hello Gene from Brooklyn, nice to see you. When we launched the stream, or before I launched the stream, before the power was going like shutting off and on really quickly, and unfortunately the computer was just shutting off and on, which is not ideal, very much not ideal. So I just shut everything off, I unplugged everything, I turned off all the fuses, and then somebody came by and is like, there's an electrical fire. So we did all the things you're supposed to do. But as we begin here, I'll tell you more about it in a moment, but I want to know, where are people coming from? Where do we find you? Where on earth are you? Hello, Tomlin. Welcome. Tomlin, where are you coming from? Where are we seeing you from here? Beep up is, what was the next thing? So we're going to be meditating today, as we love to do over here. We're going to be meditating for a little bit of time, 25 minutes, which is totally doable. If anyone's first time here meditating, or you have not meditated before, let us know. We have a way of welcoming folks here. It's either their first time here to the stream or first time meditators. Love hearing that. It's also helpful because we change the meditation to accommodate, to work with your background and challenges. And so folks, we're going to be practicing here in just a moment once we get our things rolling along. So I'll tell you the brief story as we get going here, but let me know where folks are coming from, where we're finding you in the chat. So electrical fire. This person came, sort of a friend nearby, was like, hey, you might want to get out of the building. There's smoke and there's a fire under the building. And it ends up that there was an electrical fire that started in the street and was going on under a building, and the whole electrical panel for the whole building was shaking. So the building maintenance person was afraid to pull the levers, and so it was a whole debacle. And so I'm leaving the building and I'm like, okay, what do I get? And I grabbed the laptops and I grabbed the dog, and I was like, okay, gotta get out of here. And then I realized this person happened to tell me to leave. And I was like, that's good, but I'm on the second floor and there's 7 floors to this building. So I was like, oh shit. So I ran up to the top floor and like went floor by floor and was like, as soon as somebody came out, I was like, tell everybody on this floor. And I went to the next floor. And then that was nice because more people got out, but there was no real danger in the end. Here's a pro tip, at least. I don't know if anyone's in New York, but if you're in New York or a similar city, I don't know what the laws are, the protocols are in other cities, but if you ever have to leave the building because of a fire alarm, as unintuitive as this may sound, make sure you leave your front door unlocked, because I did not leave my front door unlocked. And here, I'll show you a picture of what my front door looked like by the time I got back. Here we are. No, that's not it. There we go. I don't know. Can you see this? This is what the front door looked like by the end. So this is my suggestion. Do not leave your door. Yeah, you can see that. Do not leave your door locked. The fire department is they want in. They want to come in, and that's just what's going to happen. So they're replacing your door today, which is, you might be doing the math and saying, what do you mean replacing it today? This was 2 days ago. That's correct. If anyone wanted to rob my house, the last 2 days would have been the ideal days, because the doors just open right here in Brooklyn, New York. So good times. Okay, folks. So we're going to be practicing for 25 minutes. If that sounds crazy to you, how is it possible I could practice for 25 minutes? First of all, it's going to be fun. Second of all, excuse me, I have a crunchy thing, a throat soother. It's going to be fun. It's going to be interesting, and hopefully it's going to be transformative and exciting. So what I'm going to suggest folks do is practice in stillness. Don't move the body. Don't adjust the body in any way. The way you do this is by arranging the body well, finding a way that you can hold the body without having to use a lot of muscular power. So if it feels like you're doing a stretch, it's probably going to only last a minute or so. So you want to feel like you're sort of resting, like you can sort of collapse. One thing to be careful for is don't rest with the back sort of slouched, because this becomes very uncomfortable after a while. You want all the spine to be pretty well stacked, otherwise it'll be uncomfy as hell. And that's generally what I'll suggest. And with that, we'll begin the meditation itself. After the meditation, we're going to have some time for reports, what happened in your practice, what it was like, and we can I can answer some of your questions. So as questions arise, just put a little pin in it and put it aside, and we will talk about those after. Challenges, anything that comes up during the practice, we're here to help. Okay. So folks, find that nice comfortable position. And when you're ready, make sure to take a sip from your hot water beaker. This is what the stream will just be now, is me drinking water. I hate coughing during the guided meditation. Sometimes I can't help it, but part of why I drink the hot. Okay, so folks, find that nice comfortable position, and when you're ready, we will begin. Just so folks know, there probably will be some clanging and banging in the background, maybe even a little visit from our old friend the hammer drill, but just know that we can fold that into the practice. It doesn't have to be a distraction necessarily. And we'll begin. Beginning by taking a few comfortable deep breaths and just feeling the body rise and fall. As we begin a meditation, part of the process is letting the mind know that what we're doing is the priority. Of course, it's not all that will arise. The mind will think of and search for a million different things. We're simply letting it know we're going to come back to the experience of the present moment over and over without judgment, just returning. In this case, the sensations of the body rising and falling along with the breath. And we'll begin by taking a general sense of the body as a whole. So first, relaxing the body physically. And relaxing the major muscle groups along with all of the micro muscles, the places where the bone meets the flesh of the muscle, the fascial connective tissue, relaxing very, very deeply at the core of the body. Knowing that we can physically relax more than we can even physically feel. And getting a general overall sense of the body as a whole. Not any particular sensation, but the experience of all body as one general collection. The mind tends to apprehend the world in a few different ways. One is in detail separating certain things out from everything else, and the other is a more generalized collection. So one is our attention, one is the awareness experience. In this case, we're coming in contact with awareness through a general sense of the overall body. This is just an example of one shape that awareness can take. And while we've felt the sensations of the body many times in our life, we're simply letting the mind know that we're going to treat this current experience as new, because it is. Noticing that awareness simply knows the experience. It is the part of the mind that simply takes in the data. It doesn't matter what data it is, it simply knows that experience. So just to demonstrate this, we can briefly switch to hearing. Taking in all hearing experience for a moment, letting go of the body. And of course, this experience is quite different than the body. And if we're practicing with the eyes closed or with the eyes open, for a moment bringing our awareness to the overall experience of seeing, whether the darkness of closed eyes or if we're practicing with the eyes open, the eyes resting on a single point, just looking at all of seeing as one large collection. The overall seeing experience. Once again, switching back to the body, the overall body experience. The overall hearing experience. All hearing that is available to this particular body-mind in this particular moment. And then all seeing, the seeing experience. What is the seeing experience for this body at this moment? So each of these experiences is relatively different, seeing, hearing, feeling, but something is the same each time, and that is the knowing of those experiences. That knowing is like a kind of mist or atmosphere that takes in the experience of what is occurring. No matter what it is simply known to the mind. This knowing is called awareness. So tuning into this experiencing quality, the part of us that can know, can experience. In this case, let's switch to all of our sense data, the entire collection of everything we can sense in this moment, including thoughts and emotions, seeing, hearing, feeling. So we're less worried about what is included in this capture of this particular moment than the fact that it can be experienced. And I'd like us to see if we can cultivate this awareness as not just a neutral experiencing, but as something that is welcoming to whatever occurs, as though there were a very subtle attraction, like it had its own magnetic pull. Whatever is experienced is welcomed. This is what we'll refer to as kind awareness. So anytime we notice anything in particular, any part, any piece, introducing it to the overall experience of this kind awareness. At this stage of the practice, any distraction is perfect, it fits right in. It's a particle that can be introduced to our overall experience. And so getting used to this process when a particular sensation, seeing, hearing, feeling, inner or outer, arises, such as a sound or the sound of my voice, introducing that sensation to all of sensing. In other words, something particular arises and we introduce it to the overall experience. Over and over, some particular sensation arises and we either apprehend it as part of the overall, or if the mind is pulled in, introducing that experience to the larger experience, all of our sensing. In a way, we're cultivating this kind consciousness. This kind awareness. Letting whatever arises, even if it's a distraction, feed back into this overall experience. Noticing that this kind awareness has certain attributes. Often it's described or experienced as being relatively soft, gentle. Spacious, sometimes like a mist, an overall experiencing. And of course we can bring that overall experiencing to a small part of our experience. It doesn't have to be large, but in this case this is a little easier. It's often experienced as being quite quiet. The experiencing itself doesn't make any particular sound. Sometimes it's described as having a kind of stillness or ever-presentness. Some or all of these attributes may be present, or none. But whatever is present, whatever self is arising, whatever our read of this situation is, assessing this meditation is going wonderfully or going terribly, allow that particle to be experienced among all of the sense data, this large welcoming awareness. And with some connection to this kind awareness, we're going to add something a little different. We're going to add some words, allowing the mind to speak, allowing this kind awareness to simply say hello to the overall system. So this may seem strange at first, but it will connect soon. So just let this overall kind awareness speak for a moment. Let it say hello in all directions. Hello to the self, hello to world. And now turning in particular towards the experience of self, me, letting this kind awareness say hello to the experience of me, that which we tend to believe is the self. Noticing that often when we come in contact with the self, we get sucked in as though it was me. Suddenly the world feels like it has a center, and that center is I. That's fine, that's simply another particle. Reintroducing that particle to all sense data. Letting it simply be an area within this larger mist of awareness. Something that we can direct our friendly, welcoming greeting to. Hello, self. And considering that we know this self has struggled at times, has fought has worked very hard to care for us. In fact, this self often feels like it needs to work all the time, to be vigilant and worried. How does this kind awareness feel about that self? Does it feel negatively, or is it angry with this self, or does it have a kind, welcoming quality like it does with everything else? And for a moment, asking, how does this self feel about being present with this kind, welcoming experience? And of course, depending on what's happening in our particular experience, it could be vastly different than what I'm describing. So whatever is arising, it is likely very particular to you and your experience at this moment. So all we do is simply introduce that experience, whatever constellation of seeing, hearing, feeling, thoughts and emotions is arising, introducing that to this overall experiencing. This soft, spacious atmosphere of kind awareness. So I'd like us to do something very particular. This is the most important part of this particular meditation. I'm going to say some words, and it's likely that the body and mind will jump into a pattern, into a habit. I want you to watch that habit very closely. The habit will be to move the body, to adjust, to end the meditation. The words that will likely trigger this is that we will end the meditation when the bell goes silent. Watching as you hear these words, the system activates. Sometimes as though we can't even help it, suddenly we realize we're moving, we're adjusting. Noticing the particularity of either that impulse to move, the sense of momentum to change what's happening, or even the change in movement itself if it's occurred on its own unconsciously. Recognizing that as very particular and introducing it to this overall awareness experience. So staying in stillness, staying with the practice. Allowing a tiny bit of light to enter the eyes. Eventually allowing the eyes to rest on a single point, ideally one that is not a screen and not text. And as we allow the eyes to fully open, letting the openness of the seeing experience, letting this awareness expand to include all of seeing. And in this moment, as we practice this open awareness, this kind, welcoming aspect of our mind, letting this particular moment be the great teacher. This is how we learn to bring this practice into every aspect of our life. This point where we mix our ordinary lives, as we often sit with our eyes open. How much easier it is to practice, to meditate in this moment than it might have been otherwise, and letting this particular moment be the great teacher that shows us how we might bring this practice into every aspect of our life. Okay, so making any adjustments you need to allow the body to be comfortable. Beep up, beep up, up, up. Yeah, folks. So, what was that like? I'd be very curious to hear from folks. Who moved the body when they heard that we're going to end soon? That's what I'm curious about, because I often encourage people to practice in entire and complete stillness. It's very interesting to see where there was any breakdown in the stillness system. There's often those impulses to move, or just I'm going to jump out of the practice, especially if we say I'm going to practice for the whole time, or I'm going to practice until it finishes, and then suddenly we're like, no, I'm deciding to move. Often it's helpful to notice the momentum that pulled us into that. That's often that momentum is also carrying in all these different parts of our life, the part of us that struggles to do the things we want to do, etc. So I'm curious who had that sudden urge to move, who succumbed. It's not a problem. It's actually really helpful to say it out loud. It brings a lot of consciousness to it and makes it more likely that we can break it up if we prefer to break it, if we'd like to. So folks, now is the part where we write and talk about your meditation experience. What happened and what are you like now? 2 ways you can do that. Oh, we have someone here, Kiki for Maxi. Kiki is the nickname of my sister. So maybe this is Kiki. Maybe this is my sister. Welcome. Lovely to see you here. Glad you could join. As always, folks, if you're new here, hit the follow button. I think you know what that does. It makes it possible to know when we are going live. So there's 2 ways to give your meditation report. One is to type it in the chat. The other one, which is a little more robust, I can actually get into some detail about your practice and usually give some better advice, is through Zoom. If you want to jump on our Zoom, let us know, because beep up, beep up, we don't turn on the camera unless someone says, I'd like to be on Zoom, and then we turn it on. Looks like the drilling's going to start for a minute. Hopefully that was not too disturbing during the practice. It's funny, if anyone was here towards the beginning of when we started doing the live stream, like a while ago, years ago, or I guess a year and something ago, the drilling was like all the time, constant drilling. And it was very funny to be like, okay, let's meditate, ding, like earth-shaking drilling, like this. Just as soon as the bell rang, the drilling started. The theory was that someone had the stream going and was waiting for it to start, and then. So, what was that like? What happened, and what are you like now? Or any other meditation challenges, difficulties, areas of confusion. What else came up for you? Or maybe you've had a fire in your house in the last couple days, like we did, and can share your story. What happened? No pressure, of course. If folks would prefer not to give reports, I don't have to torture anyone with hearing about your practice, but it is helpful for you and everyone and me. Beep up. So, okay, folks, so trying to think, I thought there was an announcement. there is an announcement, but I can't remember what it is. I don't remember. But, okay, so, yeah, okay, here we go. Here's Jean. Since you advised not to move at the end, I was able to be aware and avoid doing so. Shifted a few other times, though. And I'm curious if you noticed, Jean, when I said, you know, we're getting towards the end of the practice, especially because I emphasize it, like, hey, look for this. If you noticed all of those impulses to move and to shift and these kind of things. It's really interesting because we really don't think about like the impulse to move. We just think that we're controlling our movements, but we have all these impulses. I call it like preparation, I guess like energy or something, but like the body like prepares to move. I think it's like peptides in the brain, like filling the, flooding the system, getting prepared to activate, to give the muscles some activation. If anyone has a more technical description, I'd love to hear it. But that is absolutely, we have this weird preparation energy. And if you can detect that preparation energy, that's very much what emotion either rides on or tends to be very closely associated with, is that sort of like the body filling with a sort of, you know, the peptides and this kind of thing, like a kind of, like almost like a temperature change, but it's actually the body preparing. Okay, so Nick says, hi, good. Are you okay? Joined the last 5 minutes at the office. Noticed what I take to be myself is always changing, but I don't feel like it. Also, yes, I moved mentally. Well, mentally it's okay. We just want to see if we can get the body to not move physically, and we are okay. Everything's fine. They're drilling, so everything must be back to normal. But even last night, there was like a whole emergency. This is like a day later. There's an emergency crew outside, and I came out and I was like, you guys know that there's like smoke in the building again, right? So we had a fire. And they're like, yeah, that's why we're venting it. And I was like, but what's producing this? Like, the thing's been out for a while. Like, this is new smoke. Like, what's producing the smoke? And so anyway, that was what I wanted to know. And they were just like, whatever, man. So, yeah, we're good. We're okay. Everything ended up fine in the end. And also, P.S., folks, let us know if you have requests for specific meditations or topics you want us to cover, as always. Doesn't seem like there's a lot of reports. I won't belabor. I won't torture anyone here in meditation limbo. If anyone's trying to get on the Zoom, let me know, because we don't open it until someone says, I'd like to get on. But it's totally cool. If folks want to wait until Friday and we'll jump back in, that's super cool. Super happy to have you here. Welcome to Kiki for Maxi. Lovely to see you here. And what else? Anything else, folks, before we drift away into the ether? If not, no pressure whatsoever. And so we're back here Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern for another meditation, another Q&A, some good times to be had. And yeah, so here's what I want to say, unless somebody pops in, is that I have a wish for you. The wish is simple. So in this particular moment, actually, okay, wait, no, I have another question. Stop the presses. Who is able to, or who had challenges with contacting awareness and contacting the kind awareness? This was partially in response to a class I had yesterday where someone was describing what they were sort of defining awareness as a certain thing, and I realized I wanted to get a little clearer on what I was really referring to, because they sort of said it's the overall sense of the body or the zoomed out experience, but I wanted to get more refined and talk about that awareness can be anywhere and actually kind of in any shape. And it's sort of just a quality, a way that the mind experiences the world. So that's what I wanted to get into today. So if anyone had a challenge with that, let me know, because that was the point. That was the reason. It was to get clearer on that. Okay, so folks, here's my wish for you, is that in this particular moment, you can experience the soft, kind awareness, the part that doesn't need anything in particular to change, and that in this particular moment, you're able to hear the sounds, feel the body sensations, see the seeing experience as a ongoing movement of all of the lovely layers of human experiencing, without a need to make it be particularly different, without a need to alter your experience. Simply to know that what you're experiencing is an ordinary human experience. This is what it means to be alive. not to fool ourselves that being alive, the default position should be happy all the time, happy. That is a pitfall. So don't think that you're supposed to be happy. Know that happiness is something we have to cultivate, to feel lucky when it's present, to feel grateful and hopeful when it's not. But in this particular moment, the way we cultivate happiness is simply to know our experience now, to allow it to be new, to appreciate those things which are valuable, like our connection, our ability to talk to each other, our ability to hear each other's voices. So as always, folks, practice well, take care of each other, have fun, and we will see you very, very soon. Okay, folks. Bye.